Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial we are going to discuss about TanStack Query or React Query. Previously it was React Query, but right now it is named as TanStack Query. As you can see, it is a powerful asynchronous state management for TypeScript, JavaScript, React, Solid, Vue, all those kind of things. Okay, so that's why it is not React Query anymore, it is TanStack Query. So that is what we are going to use in our React Native app. So if you are interested in these kinds of tutorial, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new tutorial on this channel. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. And here I have already created an Expo project, and here I have already installed this TanStack Query. So here you can see that this has been installed, and here in the docs if we go, then here we can see the installation guide. So from the installation guide I have used this npm command, and you can use others as well. We have pnpm, yarn and bun, so whatever is suitable for you, you can use that to install the TanStack Query. Here it is installed, and with that I have created a sample API which is in this db.json file. So here I have created a to-dos data, and with this we can create a fake API which we can use in our project. And for that I'm going to use JSON server. This is the JSON server which I have already installed on my computer, and that is what I am going to use. This is the command I am going to use. So let me copy it to run the server. So here I am going to paste it, and for me it is within the data directory, data/db.json. so now hit enter, and with that we can see that it is running in this endpoint. So let's open it. So here we can see this is the data which we are getting. So that's what we are going to use, and here within the .env I have provided this localhost 3000 in which our API is running. So now in the index.js, let's display those to-dos from the API. And initially I am going to use the normal approach, which is by using useState and useEffect hook. And then after that I am going to implement that same thing with React Query, so that we can understand what is the benefit of using React Query in our project. So here for the API, let's create a directory called API, and then I will create a file todo.ts, and here I am going to do the API call. So first create the API URL constant, and that would be this process.env expo public API URL, and this expo public API URL we have here, right, in the .env file. So that's what we are using for the API URL, and then we need to create the type. So for the type I can copy the data, and here let's provide this JSON to TS, convert from clipboard. So I have already copied the data, JSON data, and then from the JSON data I am creating the type. So here we have the type. So this is what I am interested in. I don't need these to-dos, and I can export it so that I can use it from any file in my project. And to create this type I am using JSON to TS extension. So now after that we need to create a function to get all the to-dos. So here we are getting the suggestions, that's what we are going to use. And here let me return the data like this. So this is what we are going to use. Now save it. After that within the index I need to create the state. So here I am going to create to-do state, and we need to import useState and this to-do type as well. Now within the useEffect hook we can create fetch to-dos function, and here within the try block I will try to fetch the data. So here for the result I can use get to-dos function which we have created here, right? So that's what I have imported, and we can set to-dos with the result. For the error we can catch the error and console log it. Now we need to call the fetch to-dos. So by this we are getting the result, and now here let's provide a flat list, and for the flat list data we are going to provide this to do, and for the render item let me provide the to do data. Now with the save here we can see we have the data. So now here you can see that we have to use the useState hook and the useEffect hook to fetch the data, and in a real world scenario this API call might take some time. So for that we need to check for the loading, that is also we need to take into consideration, and by default I will set it to false. And also with that we need to check for the error, so that's what we need to handle. So that's why I have created two more state, is loading and error. We need to check for the loading state. So here I am just faking a time duration, so that I can do by the set timeout, and here within the set timeout I am going to provide 1 second delay, and within it I will call this set to do's. Okay, and here I will set is loading as true, and when we will set to do, then I will set is loading as false, and here based on that I will provide checking. So first if is loading, then we will provide a loader like this, then if we have error then we will provide the error here. So we are not setting the error here, I have provided the error in the console, but for a real app providing the error in the console will not help the user. So that's why here we need to set the error, and based on that we are checking it here. So here error dot message we can provide like this. So now let's save. So here you can see we have the loader, and then we are getting the data. So all these things you can understand. So this is the code which we need to implement this simple API call and displaying the data. Now we are going to replace it with the React query, and for that let's go to the documentation of it, and here let's see. So here we can see first we have this query client, and we need to wrap the app with query client provider. So that we can do within the layout.tsx. This is the root layout by which the app is getting rendered. So here I can wrap this stack with the query client provider. So here let's import something from TanStack React query, and here that would be query client and query client provider. Now here let's create the query client, and now let's wrap this stack with query client provider, and for the client we need to provide the query client. And now let's close this query client provider. We have provided this query client properly. Now we can use it here. So let's comment out all these things, and here let's create query. We are going to use useQuery hook from the TanStack query. Okay, so within this useQuery hook we can provide query key, and here we need to provide an unique key for this particular query, and then for this query we need to provide the query function as well. So here we have the query function, and this is the function which we are going to call. So here within this useQuery hook we are running this function getToDo's, which is this function which is calling the API, and then with this query key it is caching the data. So it is handling the cache management of the data by this query key, and this is the unique key which we need to use for the caching of this particular data which is being returned from this function. Now if we output this query in the console, then let's see what we are getting. So here we can say we are getting lots of things. We are getting the data, error, fetch status, is error, is fetched, all of these things. And with that we are also getting some error as well. I will check the error later. Here we can get the data like this, and along with it we can get lots of things like this. Okay, so here we have is pending, is loading, is error. So these are the things which is mostly required. So here we can use is pending, which is being used while the data is getting fetched from the API, and then we have the error as well. And here for the data I can name it as to do's, which we are using here. Okay, so now if I save it, then here we can say we have the data present, right? And we don't need all these codes. So all of these code have been replaced by this useQuery hook only, which is only 2 lines of code. So now we can get rid of these things, and here we can use this one. Instead of is loading, I'm going to use is pending. For the error, we have the error like this. So now let's save it. Now let's see the error, how it is handling the error. Let me provide a checking for the error. If response is not okay, then we are going to provide this error. And now here I'm going to deliberately setting an error. I'm not providing the correct URL. From the to-dos, I have removed the S. Now let's save it. Now after that, let's reload here. And here we can see the loader, it is loading, and right now it is trying to get the data, but it didn't get it. So finally it have been failed. And here we can see the data which we have provided for the error. So that's how we can handle the error. So you can understand that how easy it is to handle the API call with useQuery from React Query. And with this, it is also handling the caching. Now let's deep dive into it and let's implement some other features as well. So now here I am going to create other functions as well. So first I am going to create function for create to do. So this is how we are going to create to do, and here I am going to get the text. So here we are going to get the text, this particular text, and from the text we are going to create the to do. So here it will be like this. And for the ID also I'm going to provide the current date time string, and for this one also I'm going to get it in the data and return the data. So this is the create to do function, and then after creating we are going to delete as well. So for the delete, this is how it is. We are going to get the ID of the to do, and from that ID we are going to delete it. Within the fetch method we are going to use the delete. Let's get it in the result, and we are going to return the result.json like this. And with it we are going to create update to do. So for the update to do, we are going to get the to do. So that means as here we are creating the to do by the text, but here for this update to do we are getting complete to do with all the values in it, and then we are providing it like this. So we have provided all the functions: get to do, create to do, delete and update. And now with this I am going to create another function which is get to do by ID, which would be like this, but I will name it as get to do by ID. And here also I am going to make it like this, and let's return the data. So for this get to do by ID, we are passing the ID parameter, and within this fetch we are fetching the to do based on the ID passed to this function, and we are returning the data. So these are all the functions which we need. Now in the index, let's first create the style, and here for the style container let's provide all these things. Now let's import style sheet from React Native, and let's provide the container here. And here let's create render to do function, and this will be list render item type, and the type of it would be to do. So this to do needs to be imported from our API to do file, and then we are returning it. So now instead of this, let's use render to do function. So nothing have been changed. For this container, let's provide padding 20. Now I am going to design this to do. So here I am going to provide it like this, and let's return. Let's provide a view, and I will name it as to do container, and then I will provide the style of to do text for this text. After that I will create a view, and this view will be for the to do actions. Okay, so what are the actions we need? We need delete, edit. So for that, here I am going to provide touchable opacity for the button, and here we need to provide the icon. So I need to import the icon from vector icons, and I am going to get icons. So here I am going to use trash icon. Now let's create the styles. So we have to do container, then we have to do text and to do actions. For the to do container, I am going to provide flex direction row, justify content space between, align item center, margin bottom 10. For the width I will provide 100%, and for the to do text I will provide with 80%. And here I don't provide any kind of margin bottom. Let's use margin vertical here. So now it is looking good. So we have this delete button, and with this I'm going to create another section which will be for add to do. I will name it as add to do container. Within it I will provide a text input, and for this placeholder let's provide this text. Then for this style let's provide this add to do input, and with this I need to provide a button which would be touchable opacity like this. So now let's save it, and with the save here I need to create this add to do container. So here for this add to do container flex direction I will provide row. For the align items let's provide center. For the justify content it would be space between, and for the width I will provide 100%, and for the input let's provide flex 1, margin right 10 pixel. For the border width let's provide 1, and for the border color I will provide gray color. For the border radius let's provide 5, and for the padding let's provide 10. So here it is. So here our to do, and here is the add to do. So now let's implement the functionality of adding a to do. So to add a to do we need to create a to do state, and here for this text input value let's provide to do, and for the on change text of it we will set the to do. Now we need to call this create to do function, and that we can do by this mutation. So here we have this use mutation hook which we can use to create, update or delete the data. So that's what we need to use now. So here we can create add mutation, and here let's import use mutation hook from React query, and then within it we need to provide mutation function. So for the mutation function we can provide this create to do. This function we need to import from our API, and then for on success of it we can get the data, and let's output the data in the console. And here to call this mutation we need to create another function which would be handle to do, and here it would be like this add mutation dot mutate, and here we need to pass this to do state which we have created, okay, which we are setting here. On change text we are setting this to do, so we are passing this to do to this add mutation dot mutate, and this will be passed to this mutation function. And in this mutation function create to do you can see that we are expecting a string text, right? So this is what we are passing by this mutate method. So that is how it will be passed, and then when this create to do function will run properly, then after that we are updating this to do with this empty string, so that here we get clear input field. After saving here let's provide test to do. Now after that let's click here, and yes, we are not calling it, so we need to call this here. For the on press of it we need to call this handle to do function, okay. So now let's click here, and after clicking here we can see we have this success in the console. That means it have run properly, but here we are not seeing it. And if we see the database db.json, the data have been updated to the JSON as well. So this is the JSON server which is running here. So this JSON server is handling all these things. So within this function we are posting this data, and we are getting it in this JSON file, right? So we can see that it is already created the data, but we are not seeing it here. If we reload the app, okay, it is showing an error. Let me check what is the actual issue. Okay, I think it is because of these returns. I need to provide it here, okay. So now it's working. So I was returning this before handling these hooks, so we need to handle it before then we can return. That's why it was showing that error. Otherwise within the calling of these hooks we don't have any kind of error. Let me change the name to handle at to do. Okay, so it is working fine, but here we can see that whenever we are adding the data, that time it is not updating it. Another to do. Here we can see the success, but here we are not seeing the data updated on the screen. And in the JSON file also we can see the data, right? But we are not seeing it here, and that is because here we have the query key, and by this key, as I have mentioned earlier, that it is caching the data. So that's why it is not updating. So to update this we need to invalidate the query, and to invalidate the query we need to create a query client by useQuery client hook, which needs to be imported from React Query, and then here on success we can use that. So query client dot invalidate queries. By this we are invalidating the query, and here we need to specify the query key, which is particularly we want to invalidate, so that it will remove the cached data. So now let's save it. After that let's add another one. So hello test. Now let's click here. So with that, here we can see we have the hello test added, which we are seeing on the screen, right? So like this we can cache the data by providing the query key, and that is what we need to provide. This is the basic structure of the useQuery hook. We need to provide a query function and the query key, and whenever our data updates, that time we need to invalidate that query. We need to clear the cache, then it will update it. So by this query key we are handling it. Now we need to delete it. So let's delete the to do, and for that let's create delete mutation, and here let's use the useMutation, and here it will be similar kind of things. Mutation function, we have delete to do, and we need to import this delete to do function from our API, and then we are invalidating the query. To see the functionality in effect, we need to invalidate the query as we have done previously, right? And now we need to call this delete mutation dot mutate as we have done here, and we need to pass the ID to this delete to do function. So here in the delete to do we are getting a ID, so we need to pass that, and that we can do here. So let's create handle delete to do and delete mutation dot muted, and we are passing the ID item dot ID. And now for this on press, let's provide handle delete to do function. Now with the save, let's delete this another to do. So with this click, here we can see it have been deleted, and let's go to the database. So here we are seeing the test to do hello test, but we are not seeing any another to do, right? So this delete function is working perfectly well. Now we need to provide an update. So here for each to do, here we can say completed as false or true. We can set it like this. So here for this one we can see it is true. We can handle the completion like this. So let's create update mutation, and here it is the similar thing. We need to import this update to do, and for on success we are invalidating the query. And within this render to do, let's create handle toggle to do. So here we have created this handle toggle to do function, and here this updated to do. So we are destructuring all the properties of the item, and we are just toggling this completed. So if it is true, then it will be false. If it is false, then it will become true. And then we are calling this mutation function by this update mutation dot muted updated to do. We are passing this to do, and here we can see for the update to do we are accepting to do. Okay, we are not accepting ID or text, we are accepting complete to do. So that's what we have provided here with the updated to do, right? Now we can provide that for this text. So for this text on press, we can provide handle toggle to do function, and here let me provide a text decoration line through. So if it is complete, then it will have a line, otherwise it will have none. So with that we can see we have this line for this to do as it is true. Let's go to DB. So here we can see this particular one is true. Okay, and for this one, yeah, invest in cryptocurrency, that is also true as well. So these two are true. Now let's click on it. So here we can see it is also true. Okay, and we can uncheck it as well. So it is not done yet and it is done. So that's how it is working. So all the functionalities are working perfectly well. Now we are left with only one thing, which is the get to do by ID, and for that here I am going to create another touchable opacity, and that will be for edit. So I will provide pencil outline here, yeah, like this. Now if I click here, then I want to open another screen as a model where we will have this particular to do and we can update the text of the to do. So for that here I am going to create edit tsx, and let's create this edit, and for this layout let's provide stack screen index and the stack screen edit, and here I am going to provide presentation as model. Okay, now here I am going to open it by this link which needs to be imported from export outer. So for the link href I need to provide the path name, and here the path name would be edit, and for the parameters passed to it I will provide id, which would be the item ID. And now let's close this link, and here we need to provide as child, because for this touchable opacity we are going to provide this functionality. Now let's save it. Now with the save, let's click here. So here we can see the edit, and here by this use local search params we can get the ID, and let's provide it here. So it is edit 3, edit 1, and for the hello test it is edit this number. So we are getting the data properly, and now we need to use this get to do by ID, and this is little bit different. Here we are getting the to do by this get to do's, and the query key was to do's, right? But for this one it will be little bit different. Here let's provide useQuery, and for the useQuery query key we need to provide dynamic data. So that's how we can provide it. So here it would be first to do, so it will be like this, to do by 3, to do /3 or 4 or 5, whatever the number would be, that would be like this. So this particular thing is dynamic. So that is what we have provided here, the ID, and here we have the string. So this is how we can provide the key, and here we need to import this get to do by ID function, and here we need to provide this ID, and here we are seeing an error that string or array of string is not assignable to string. So it could be string or array of string, but it is not. So I'm going to specifically make it to string, and here we can get data is pending and error. So these are the three things which we need most of the time. And here let me create a text input, then let's provide touchable opacity, save, and for this style here I am going to provide these styles. For the view let's provide container, and for the input let's provide input style. Now to handle this data we need to create a state called to do, and here within the useEffect I am going to provide this set to do data, and here for this text input value I am going to provide the to do, and for the on change text I am going to set this to do. Let's save it. So here we can see that we have the data present, and we can provide the update as well, right? So that's how we are handling it. Okay, So here we are updating this set to do with the data which we are getting from this useQuery function. Whenever this data changes, initially we will not have the data, it will call the function. So first we will not have the data, but then we will have the data. That time it will update this to do, and based on this to do we are providing this value here, and whatever we are going to change here, that is getting updated in this state, and that we can use to edit this to do. So now let's provide this edit functionality. So let's create the edit mutation, and here it would be useMutation, and for the useMutation we need to provide mutation function update to do, and this is the same function, this update to do, which we have used here. So for the update mutation we have used it, and for the update mutation mutate we have provided the updated to do. So we have provided the complete to do. So that's what we need to provide here as well. So let's create handle update function, and here it would be edit mutation dot mutate, and here we need to provide this to do. We are already getting the ID, so we are providing that, and then we have the to do. So this is the to do dot to do. So that's what we can provide simply by providing to do, and completed would be false. Or if we want to provide the same state, then we can do it by providing data.completed, but I think the completed as false would be perfect. So if anything is completed previously but we are updating it, that means it is not completed yet and we want to complete. So that's why I think the false would be perfect for this scenario. And now for this touchable opacity on press, let's provide the handle update. Now let's save it. Now let's provide an update here. Watch a classic movie on Netflix. Now let's save it. Now after saving, here we can see the output in the console that we have a success. So whatever we have provided here, that is there. And in the DB also we can see that it is updated properly, but here we are not seeing the update. So I want to provide that functionality, so that I can provide similarly like this. So we need to get the query client. Let's import the query client from TanStack Query and then use it here. So query client invalidate queries, and we want to invalidate queries this one. So here it is not updated, this I need to update. So that is the query key to do's. So it is not this query key, it is the query key of this one, right? And I want to close this one as well. So now let's save it. Watch a documentary on Amazon Prime. Let's save it. Now with the save, here we can see that it have been closed, but here it is not updated yet. Now let's do a reload. So here we can see that all the updates, but now let's see if it is working perfectly or not. So let's delete it. So watch a documentary, and here we can say watch a documentary, right? So hello test edits. So here we can say hello test edits. Okay, so it is working perfectly well, and now you can see and you can understand that what is the benefit of it. Here it is managing the data fetching, caching the data, and it is very easy to create a larger application and managing the different types of API calls efficiently. Otherwise you can understand that when we have tried to fetch the data initially, that time already we had so much of code and we need to use the 3 different kind of states to manage the data. So you can understand that if the API call increases and there are multiple screens, multiple data fetching, then you can understand that there would be lots of useEffect, useState hooks needs to be involved in that project, and then to cache the data you have to manage that separately. So all these things is being handled beautifully here in this React query or TanStack query. And here also for this edit we can provide these functions as well. So I think you have got a clear understanding of what is the benefit of using TanStack Query in your project. Whether it is small project or a big project, it will be really helpful for you to manage the project and implement any kind of feature in it. So this is the tutorial guys. I hope you have learned something new from this tutorial. If you do so, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and let me know by commenting down below. If you have any kind of suggestion for me, then also let me know, and don't forget to share this tutorial with your friends and colleagues, and I will see you guys in my next tutorial. In the meantime, have a great day. Goodbye.